Good morning, everybody. Just after 9 o'clock, it's a Monday morning. We are starting out a little sluggish here out of the gate, but you know what? It's okay. You watch Sunday Night Football, perhaps?
Yes.
And yes, so.
Congrats to your path.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah,
look at you.
I'm getting some flack already saying it was like you barely beat the Chargers. It was 16-3. It doesn't need to look pretty.
Yeah,
and
just need a W.
Yeah, and it showed that Drake May showed signs that he is very much a first full year player because it's only his second year. Mm-hmm. And also I have to say, because I admittedly watched most of every game, or at least the end, and this was the best start to a playoffs that I think I've seen in my
100%.
lifetime.
It was very exciting.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Every single one. I think they said the most fourth quarter lead changes in any round of the playoffs.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It was very exciting.
Very excited. It actually gives me stress.
Oh gosh, I know. Well, and
You know,
that's
especially if you're vested.
that's the thing is like no matter what. Now you didn't care about the Jaguars because you're a Bills fan,
Right.
but like your heart breaks for the Panthers because of
Yeah.
how good they did and they came
Yeah.
back. And outside of Bills fans, your heart breaks for the Jaguars because both these teams they had it and then they just had the resurgence back, and then the Eagles they couldn't handle it. It just was crazy.
It was.
It was fun to watch. So yeah, congrats to all the teams. My game as a Patriots fan was definitely the least exciting, 16-3.
Yeah, which I'm sure you'd be fine with.
But yeah, and there's still one more to go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can't take anymore.
And
I think that's why we're kind of sort of like
Oh, no,
slow mo today, right?
I come to work at 2:30 in the morning, and staying up past 10 with that game. Like I made it to part of the
wow.
fourth quarter. We were winning, and I fell asleep, and I woke up in a panic and saw that they won.
Oh.
So yeah, I try to make it to the end, but honestly, like you said, a little bit sluggish. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you know
All
what?
right.
It's
We're all
the playoffs.
feeling it. It's the Monday blues, but how about Carolina blues?
Yeah, do you know what? At least we got that, right?
Yep.
So today is cold. It's seasonally cold. But the only thing about today is the sunshine is going to make you feel so much better. 52 is where we should be. If we were actually doing what January is supposed to do, we wouldn't really treat this as a big deal. You're like, oh, it's a beautiful day. But we've been rocking the 60s and the 70s even over the last few days. And compared to just 24 hours ago, it is at least 10 degrees colder pretty much across the board. Only exception is the mountains. Really a difference of 10 to 25 degrees from the foothills to the sandhills. That's the power of that cold front. If you were out at all yesterday, boy, did you notice a big transition. So compared to yesterday at 9:05, we were 49 degrees, and right now we are freezing across the area. So 24 degrees the current temperature right around the Charlotte area, 30 degrees for you in Burke County and Morganton, and then freezing for the Albemarle area over to Charlotte, and then 30 degrees also over into Lancaster as well. Going forward, though, hut hike, keeping in the spirit of the playoffs. It's a typical January day where a high of 52 is where you should be. That's what we're going to do. But we're going to have a brief warm up to around 60 degrees. And then it's the winds and clouds increase for your Wednesday that could lead to some precipitation on Thursday. Now, there's been some hype, some speculation that, could there be a changeover to snow around Charlotte on Thursday? No. You will have a chance for snow in the mountains as you usually do, but that's not going to be the case here closer to Charlotte. But focusing in on the winds, a wind out of the southwest is the best way to crank up Mother Nature's thermostat. We have seen examples of this multiple times recently, such as on Saturday, where we had those warmer temperatures getting into the 70s, and then we also saw it around Christmas Day, where we had temperatures that were record-breaking. A strong wind out of the southwest, especially if you can get some sunshine with it, is the best way to challenge some records or at least be near record warmth compared to where we should be. We're going to see that again for Wednesday. More clouds will kind of stunt the growth overall, but then eventually you're going to see a big shift out of the northwest, and then again we calm things down and then they pick up again on Saturday. Oftentimes when the winds are picking up, like widespread windy conditions like what we had, it's either a front is coming or a front is passing, as we had on Saturday into Sunday. That's why it was so windy for the Panthers game. Bryce still did so well trying to deal with those winds at the end, because boy was it whipping and whirling. Here's what it looks like on our future cast. Over the next couple of days, there is nothing to worry about. It's going to be perfectly sunny, absolutely gorgeous. For your future cast by Wednesday morning, that's where we're adding more moisture. I think it's going to be partly sunny to mostly cloudy most of the day. There will be some breaks here and there, but by the end of the day, we're anticipating some rain and even some snow up in the high country. So that snow is going to be a slight possibility, and it's not a lot the way it's looking. I think the snow overall is just going to be a dusting to a coating that typically is less than an inch is what the technical definition is. That's where you're going to see, I think, around the Boone area, seeing upwards to about an inch or so. And let's see if you can see more detailed here. And then by your Wednesday about midnight's showing really just a dusting for parts of Avery and Ashe County. But the higher you go up atop of the mountain, such as Beach Mountain, Grandfather Mountain, all the ski resorts are going to love this because they likely are going to see 2 inches plus plus overall. But as I mentioned, the snow chances right now for the Charlotte area do not look likely. I think it's Sunday morning is the one that kind of looks the most intriguing to me overall, because you're going to have another system that's combined with some much colder air. And here's what that looks like. So our next best chance for any sort of precipitation is Saturday night and Sunday. And it's this time of year, now that we're getting back to what January does, if you have a overnight precipitation chance, anything can go, especially if temperatures drop down below freezing. Well, as of right now, it looks like we have one front that cools us down, and a secondary one, if it gets enough moisture from the southwest, could provide some snow. It just depends where we're going to be. As of right now, looks like a 0 for the Charlotte area, but this is just something that I'm watching. So no alert day, nothing that's too far ahead. But if there were a day that would change and kind of surprise us, that would be it. So I just wanted to mention that. So a quick recap today. High of 52 is exactly where we should be. Sunshine across the board. Lots and lots of sun to go around. And this morning, 26 degrees is the coldest of the year. That's being dramatic because we were only 12 days in. But going forward over the next 10 days, the coldest low I have is Friday morning, 22 degrees. And things can still change for the extended forecast outside of 7 days, but it does look like we could get even colder going forward. And that 26, by the way, is looking at our coldest temperature we've had since November. Well, 26 would actually tie for the third coldest. And that's especially tough, especially when you have such a warm set of days that we've had. So for that 10-day forecast, starting with the 7, we're going to have high temperatures right around 60 degrees. By the way, my pick of the week is tomorrow because you have the sunshine, winds are still on the lighter side, and you're right near 60 degrees. Now, do I think Wednesday could exceed expectations and be warmer? Yes, but you're also dealing with a windier day and a cloudier day. If you want kind of the mix of what we have today and on the warmer variety, that's going to be tomorrow, because then after that, it's easy to choose because 41 degrees is the coldest. We're back to around 50 degrees on Saturday, and then all in all, you're pretty much 50 degrees and below. Saturday's the only day that maybe could jump up to the average or slightly above, but for the most part, a lot more 40s are taking over. So enjoy the sunny days on the warmer side while we have it. Again, Tuesday, the pick of the week because of just the best looking day and the warmest day, or at least one of the warmest.
Okay, so chance for snow then, maybe slight this weekend?
Right now, I'm talking about less than 5% for Charlotte.
Okay.
But the fact is that you have that this far out shows that you have some pieces. So it's just about the timing. I'm only showing you that just to say, hey, we're watching this. This could happen. Plus, there's a lot of things that have been coming out over the last couple of weeks. Big snowstorm coming. Yeah, there's a possibility. But as of right now, I'd say less than 5%, and that might even be generous, but we are watching some sort of system because anytime, again, you have a chance for rain overnight, it could change to something else.
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Of course.
That was good. And hopefully you recover from all the football
No,
watching.
I'll be good. I don't even know where I just went. Have I been talking? I don't know.
It's all a dream.
Where am I? How did I get here?
All right, we'll be right back and see if we can all come back into our bodies. In about 2 minutes, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Happy Monday. At 9:13, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We thank you for joining us this morning. 9 to 11, bringing you the latest live feeds, national, statewide, as well as international news. Right now, a press conference taking place at Raleigh Airport. They're talking about real IDs. This actually got underway about 5-10 minutes ago, but we're going to play it from the beginning. It is still going on, but we want to take you from the beginning again. So we'll start that for you here on WCNC Plus.
Good morning. My name is Carter Langston. I'm the TSA regional spokesperson. Thank you all for coming today. Very much appreciate it. The remarks from the podium will be on the record. We'll have a brief Q&A period after the final remarks. And then for those who want to go into the checkpoint and get B-roll, I'm happy to facilitate that. NPR, recognize you might want to get sound. I'm good with that as well. Just let me know after the fact, and I'm happy to facilitate B-roll inside the checkpoint. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer Gordon, who is the TSA Federal Security Director, and then she'll turn it over to Division of Motor Vehicles Commissioner Paul Tyne. If you guys need me to spell any of those, happy to do so after the fact. But right now I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer, and thank you very much.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Starting February 1st, travelers who arrive at TSA checkpoints without a real ID or another acceptable form of ID will need to follow a new identity verification process called Confirm ID and pay a $45 fee. At Raleigh-Durham International Airport, nearly 2,000 travelers daily arrive at TSA checkpoints without an acceptable ID. That's why it's important we make everyone aware of these changes. TSA requires all travelers 18 and older to have an acceptable ID when entering the TSA checkpoint. Some examples include real ID, passports, and military IDs. We highly encourage folks to get the real ID in advance of the February 1st deadline. If you plan to travel on or after February 1st and don't have a real ID, you'll need to visit pay.gov and pay the $45 fee and bring your receipt to the TSA checkpoint. We highly encourage you to pay the fee in advance of your travel date to avoid delays at the screening checkpoint. There's still time to get your real ID before this change goes into effect, so we encourage you to update your identification as soon as possible. Congress passed the Real ID Act in 2005 to strengthen security standards for state-issued IDs. The Trump administration is enforcing these requirements to better protect Americans. All states, territories, and the District of Columbia are issuing Real ID compliant cards, which have a star at the top. To share more about North Carolina's Real ID program, I'd like to welcome Paul Tyne, Commissioner of North Carolina's Division of Motor Vehicles. Paul, thank you for your partnership and your support.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Director Gordon, for your partnership. We at North Carolina Division of Motor Vehicles are proud to work alongside TSA to help keep travel safe and smooth for everyone. North Carolina has been issuing Real IDs, compliant driver licenses, and ID cards for nearly 9 years now. And today, more than 5 million North Carolinians already carry one of the star in the upper right-hand corner. If you have a star, you're ready for the checkpoint with no additional steps or costs. For those who don't yet have a Real ID, the easiest way to avoid the new verification process and fee is to get one before your next flight. It's straightforward. We've made it more convenient than ever. Start by visiting ncrealid.gov. That's ncrealid.gov. where you can confirm whether you need a real ID, and we have a short quiz that will help you to understand the exact list of documents that you will need to bring into the office. Every one of our 114 driver's license offices now welcome walk-in customers from open to close, or until we reach daily capacity for that location. We also continue to offer appointments, which are currently available up to 7 days in advance, with new slots added every day. And we'll be increasing the number of appointments that are available in early February. Finally, I hope you'll remember this point. Winter is the time to come to NCDMV. Please don't wait until summer, which is our busiest time of year. No need to show up early. We're seeing short lines all day, including the afternoons, and should you encounter a surge for some reason, we will check you in and let you wait anywhere. Our teams are ready to help, and getting your real ID now means one less thing to worry about at the airport. Thank you.
Now I'll open it up to any questions that you guys might have for our speakers.
Gotcha. I don't know who may be the best person to answer this, but does this impact people who are flying through RDU who are not North Carolina residents in any way?
The new requirement is for all travelers who do not have an acceptable ID. So if you don't have a real ID, a passport, or another acceptable form of ID, you will need to go onto pay.gov and make your $45 payment. You'll receive a receipt, and you'll bring that receipt to the TSA checkpoint.
Got it.
And again, we encourage folks to do this in advance of their travel date to avoid delays.
Gotcha.
Is a digital copy of the receipt acceptable, or do they need to print out a physical
Yes,
copy?
they can have a digital or a hard copy. The receipt will actually be sent to the email that they provide when they register for the payment. So they'll have it in their email, or they can bring a hard copy. Either way.
And I know some,
When they pay the $45, like what documents or what name is required?
The $45 fee will be paid at pay.gov. Folks can search for Confirm ID, make the payment online. They'll be required to enter some basic travel information, name, things like that. It's a simple form, takes about 5 minutes to complete, and then once the payment is made, the receipt will be sent to their email. The receipt is good for 10 days from the start of travel, so they can use the same receipt if they have a return flight.
And they will just need like their current ID during that process?
During that process, whatever ID that they have, if it's just a regular state-issued driver's license, for example, they will bring that with them along with the receipt.
So you're encouraging people to fill out that Confirm ID before they get to the airport, but if they don't have that filled out when they're trying to go through TSA, how's that going to impact people's travel?
If travelers show up to the TSA checkpoint without acceptable ID, such as a real ID or a passport, and they have not paid the $45 fee, they'll be directed to the pay.gov website by our officers. They'll be asked to step aside, pay the fee online, and once they receive the receipt, show the receipt when they return to the checkpoint. Again, we highly encourage them to do this in advance of travel before showing up to the airport to avoid any delays.
How does this differ from where it stands right now? If you're traveling today and then traveling February 3rd, what is the difference in what they pay and how they
The difference is they will have to pay the fee if they don't have that real ID or, for example, a passport, another acceptable form of ID. They'll have to pay the fee come February 1st and show that receipt to the TSA checkpoint.
like the program you say, when you help encourage folks to get the real ID as soon as possible, once they actually
Yeah, we highly encourage that they update their identification and go and get a real ID or another acceptable form of ID prior to travel. Identity verification is a critical part of TSA's screening process, and on February 1st, we will require a $45 fee or an acceptable form of ID to process through the screening checkpoint.
Once you get the receipt, you give it for TSA screening as normal?
Yeah, the Confirm ID is a new modernized identity verification process, that passengers will undergo if they do not have an acceptable form of ID, and that will be done right at the screening checkpoint. Once the Confirm ID process is finished, they'll be able to process through screening as normal. If they are a pre-check passenger without an acceptable form of ID, the $45 fee will need to be paid in advance of travel. So they'll be asked to step out of the line, pay the fee, and then come back through the pre-check lanes with their payment receipt.
Kicks off on February 1st. Are you all prepared for any potential delays if people do not have, this filled out? I imagine that not everyone, it may take a minute for people to get behind this.
Yes, we are prepared for the February 1st launch. We will have QR codes at the TDC podiums that show where to go to pay the fee for those that may arrive at the checkpoint without an acceptable ID and without the pay.gov receipt. So we'll direct folks to the right website, but ultimately they'll have to step out of line to pay the fee online. And we want to avoid that if possible. It will cause a little bit of delay in your travel plans if you show up without that.
Is there a chance that the passenger traveler that does not have their receipt gets to the checkpoint, pays the $45, they don't meet the Confirm ID requirements, they can still be denied travel, correct?
If they don't pass the Confirm identity verification process, then TSA will make the determination on the next steps in the screening process at that point. But we're asking travelers to bring an acceptable form of ID, real ID or passport. If they don't have those things, bring whatever identification that you have to help us to confirm your ID, along with that receipt that you've made that $45 payment. Okay?
Last question. Since Real ID started, and kind of what changes you think will happen once people kind of get used to this new system?
Yeah, well, since the launch of Real ID in May, 94% of travelers across the country have presented an acceptable form of ID. But that still leaves about 6% of travelers. Here at RDU, it's on average about 2,000 travelers a day that show up without an acceptable ID. So we are encouraging folks to get an acceptable ID. There's a full list of the acceptable IDs by TSA on our website, so you can visit tsa.gov to see a full list of those identification requirements. Okay, thank you.
All right, anybody want to go into the checkpoint for B-roll at this point?
All right, basically get your real ID sooner than later, especially if you are planning to travel, because that could cost you a little bit more paying that extra fee. All right, we'll be right back on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Right now, it is 9:29. It's a Monday morning. We're coming up on 9:30 here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. We thank you for joining us every morning, every day, Monday to Friday, for your latest live feeds, as well as in-depth conversations and covering the latest in local, state, national, and international news. So a Monday morning, the locker room is empty now for the Panthers at Bank of America Stadium because of the loss to the LA Rams on Saturday. But hey, they made the playoffs, and that is an accomplishment in itself. Our Nick Carboni and Julian Council from Locked On put together a kind of a recap segment yesterday from the bank. Here is that now. If you missed it yesterday, play that for you here on WCNC Plus.
Here with Julian Council Sunday afternoon, the day after the Panthers' first home playoff game in 10 years, and it looks and feels like it's still some trash floating around the building on a windy day, but a sign of a party last night. How cathartic was Saturday night despite the loss for the fan base here?
I think it was huge for the entire city, for the fan base, for the organization to get this moment, not just for the fact that it's been a decade, but also just the experience. And I think that's so important for such a young team where 30-plus players had never played in a playoff game, to be able to see what this city can be like and what this environment can be when they play these kind of important games. Certainly they've done that over the last 5 games, the final 4 games of the regular season. Then last night, it's been like that. So I'm just happy for the organization to be in this spot, and really for my hometown here in Charlotte, to be able to get that opportunity to show the NFL and to show these players what it's like when they're winning.
And they showed the odds makers for the second time in 6 weeks. They are not 10 points worse than the LA Rams on any given Saturday or Sunday. What did you think of the performance and how it ultimately ended in a loss?
Yeah, well, I set up here on our pregame show yesterday. I thought that they were going to win this game. I called it 30-27. It was looking pretty good there when it was 31-27 late in that game. I thought the Panthers acquitted themselves well. You go back to that game in Week 13, you could say there's some things that were fluky, like the turnovers, like the fourth down conversions, and certainly they didn't convert any fourth downs last night. They did get a turnover again, Mike Jackson intercepting Matthew Stafford, but offensively, we saw that same passing game we saw in Week 13. I think Bryce Young has solidified himself as a guy moving forward that you can count on. Jalen Coker was spectacular in that game last night as well. And defensively, while they didn't get to stop at the end, there was a period of time where they were able to get out the field 4 consecutive drives, which kept them in this game. So this team showed that while, Vegas doesn't believe them, the outside doesn't believe in them, they have belief in themselves, and they know that come any given Sunday or last night on Saturday, they have an opportunity to win these games.
Should that flash from that young passing attack and the run game fading down the stretch recalibrate how Dave Canales looks at this offense for next year?
I think so. I think at this point in time, and he said as much, he knows that Tyrell McMillan and Jalen Coker are the 2 receivers they can trust on this roster right now. I think they can trust in Bryce Young from what we saw from him last night and really what we saw from him in the final half of the season and some of these important games. Running the ball wise, it's interesting because he did tell us when he first got here he wanted to be stubborn about running the football. And while they have been stubborn about that, they have not necessarily been as successful as I think he would have liked to have been, especially in the second half of the year when they went from being top 3 in the NFL in rushing yardage to bottom 3 in the NFL in rushing yardage. They have options. Chuba Hubbard's coming back next year. Trevor Etienne's going to have a second year. And then they're going to get Jonathan Brooks, which we don't know what they're going to get out of him once he comes around. But I do think schematically they're going to have to find a way to get a little bit more creative when it comes to the run calls. And also I think having a healthy offensive line would help. But that's an area that certainly needs to improve because I don't think Bryce Young, his arm alone is what you can rely on every single game to go out there and when they need to have some balance offensively, and it's going to have to start with that run game.
In the span of 2 seasons, Bryce Young went from being benched in Week 3 in his second year to going dart for dart with Matt Stafford down this football field in a playoff game. You said it on your podcast last night. He can play. Can he play like that more consistently?
I think so. I think a lot has to do with the trust that Dave Canales is going to continue to be the play caller next season has in him. I think a lot of times we saw last year in 2024 and even this past season in 2025, Dave just not have the full confidence and belief in Bryce and that passing game. But now that you've seen what Bryce has done at that stage last night, what you've seen from Tyrell McMillan throughout his rookie season, what you've seen from Jalen Coker, there's no real excuse to not allow at least that trio to have opportunities down the field like we saw last night. And I think that Bryce has shown clearly to this organization that he is capable of stepping up in these moments. He has the respect of the locker room. He was able to get that at the end of the 2024 season, and he built upon that this past year where finally things were stable. He wasn't benched. Yes, he missed that one game due to an ankle injury against Buffalo, But outside of that, it was a normal year. It wasn't necessarily boring. It was exciting at times. It was certainly frustrating at times as well. But you got just a solid season out of your quarterback and something you can absolutely build on as he goes into year 3 of Dave.
The big storyline here on Locker Cleanout Day had nothing to do with what was going on in the locker room, nothing to do with who's an unrestricted free agent, although there are some stories there. It had to do with your question to Dave Canales about defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero and whether or not he'd bring him back. And he said 100%. Are you surprised?
I am a little bit, and I was really more surprised to learn that apparently the contract situation that we had all believed was going to end after this year, that it was taken care of prior to the season. Now, we don't still have the details as far as that goes, but Ejiro Evero will be back, and you look at it, the results are the results. The first year where he was here, and that was obviously before Dave, the defense was not great. The first year that Dave was here, it was the worst scoring defense in the history of the National Football League, and you have to wonder how can someone maintain in that role, especially if it's going to be a meritocracy, a results-based business. Well, we also understood that Dave Canales likes the scheme, and if it wasn't the scheme, maybe it's the lack of execution. Maybe it was the personnel, and they went out there and they brought in better personnel this past season. We saw having Derek Brown out there all year long, how that helps out. I think that the additions of Turk Warden as well as Bobby Brown III, Christian Roseboom helped them. Trevon Merrick this year. I'm a little surprised. I don't know if I can say I'm completely surprised, because continuously, if you listen, if you pay attention, I know a lot of fans out there are going to be frustrated by it. Dave has continuously told people how much he likes this scheme. He said it again today, that he believes in the scheme, trusts in what Ejiro's doing. Yes, they'll look at certain things, but this is the kind of defense that he wants to run. And certainly, you can run the same defense and then bring somebody else in to call it, but this is the guy that he wants, and they're going to continue to review things. Maybe something changes as far as who the other coaches are around, personnel this offseason, but it's surprising, but also, if you paid attention, it really isn't.
All right, and then the follow-up was Dave Canales and play calling. That's been a big question. Looked pretty good here on Saturday night. It seems like he's still going to maintain that role as he's still growing into being a head coach and play caller at the same time. Or do you think there's a chance they go outside?
It's always a possibility once they look back at things. I think with the Ejiro situation, well, very clearly contractually, they are they're not necessarily beholden, but they're committed to him moving forward into the rest of this year in 2026. As far as with Dave, look, he could come back and realize after reviewing things over the next couple of days, weeks, months, however long it's going to be, well, I guess it would probably be the next couple of days, as this is the hiring cycle in the NFL, that, okay, maybe I need to bring in an experienced play caller, but what does that look like then with Bryce Young? So I think such an important thing the last 2 years has been the lack of voices in Bryce Young's head. We know back to the year one when it was Frank Reich, you also had Josh McCown and Thomas Brown. It felt like too many cooks in the kitchen, and there was just too many guys in his ear, where the last 2 years it's been simplified. And I do think that you see a leap oftentimes in quarterbacks when they have their third year in an offense, and that will be next fall for Bryce Young. So I do see the benefit of having that relationship continue on in the way it is right now, but I do wonder if maybe it may be more beneficial long term for the organization and for Bryce Young and all involved if Dave is able to take a little bit off his plate and bring an experienced play caller, but it sounds like that's not going to be the case, at least as of today.
How high up is left tackle now on this team's offseason shopping list because of the tough break to Ike Mekwonu with a patellar tendon rupture?
Yeah, it's going to be big. You look at the offensive line in general, Rob Hunt, like he has an MRI coming up here with his pack. It didn't seem to be something too significant considering he's able to go back in last night. Damian Lewis, he's checked out pretty well. They got to figure out what they want to do with Cade Mays. Obviously, Taylor Moton, they extended him back prior to the season. So you were already in a good spot anyways with the guys on the offensive line. Now with Icky, who is also having his own extension talks, and we'll see how this injury potentially impacts that, they're going to have to try to find at least a stopgap veteran. I know Josh Nijman was in there today, and he was getting signatures from everybody on the team. It was something I asked him, had he done that before? It was the first time for him doing that, so maybe that's somebody you want to bring back. Brady Christensen, I talked to him as well. Now he tore his Achilles, so that's going to be certainly a difficult thing to bounce back from, but he said he'd like to be back next year, and that could be an option for Carolina. But I think they're probably going to have to go out of the building and try to find a veteran option there to at least be a stopgap, be that swing tackle after things are over, which is a thing they're going to have to address anyways if Nijman's not going to be back next year. But yeah, that certainly has risen to the top of the list of, I guess, personnel concerns heading into this offseason.
Left tackles, I mean, even if you don't get the upper echelon, they could be pricey. How may that factor into what else they want to do this offseason?
Yeah.
We'll have to ask Dan Morgan that question this week.
Yeah, that's a good question. And looking at the salary cap, they should have a good amount of cap space. And the good thing is there are a ton of young players on this roster. Some of your high-priced guys like Derek Brown, you've already taken care of him. You've taken care of J.C. Horn. Now, Ickey was supposed to be the next in line. It may still very well be. And again, I don't know how that's going to impact him as far as what they want to do. Like, he has 50-year options. That's not going to be a good chunk of change he's going to pick up here later on this fall. It will be maybe something that hurts them as far as wanting to go out and address some other areas. I still think the draft is where they want to build, and that's so important what they've been able to do with this draft class in particular that's played such a big role. I mean, guys like Jalen Coker, he's a exclusive rights free agent. So if you want to take care of him, which I think he's deserving of a higher salary than he had obviously this year, how high do you want to go with Jalen and some of these other guys available? I mean, Bryce, I don't think an extension makes sense right now. Adam Schefter, we talked about this yesterday. He went out there and reported that the expectation is Carolina's going to exercise that 50-year option once May comes around. So that kind of saves them some money. So I think even if they have to bring in that 1 year kind of left tackle rental, they can probably afford it with the other areas of needs and honestly things that are already taken care of on this roster.
All right, Panthers are going to pick 19th. Can you predict where they're going to go with that? What's the biggest need, knowing that Dan Morgan may pull an okey doke on us for the second straight year?
Yeah, I think offensive line, even with the situation with Ickey, that's pretty much taken care of for the most part. Defensive line, all those guys are under contract next year. Receiver, they're good. I think they could benefit from adding a veteran, so that would preclude them from going. I think that should not be a priority in the first round.
Not 3 straight years.
No, certainly not. And I think linebacker, that's the position to look at. Guys like C.J. Allen from Georgia would, I think, fit perfectly in the middle of this defense. I think as well as Sonny Styles at Ohio State, that would be 2 guys I'd be looking at if I'm Dan Morgan. There's been a lot of questions about the linebacker spot here. Dan Morgan, you played linebacker at a very high level for this team. Why have you not invested? And they've invested, I think, the 3rd least amount of money when it comes to the linebacker position in the NFL. Now, the team they lost to last night, the Rams, they invest the least. So you can win football games without spending a lot of money. But Trevor Wallace, he's back next year. I think there's a benefit to having Christian Roseboom back again. If they can add a C.J. Allen in the first round, I think that can go a long way to getting back to the kind of standard that's been set by Sam Mills, that's been set by Dan Morgan, Luke Kuechly, John Beeson, Thomas Davis, and even Shaq Thompson. Those guys have come in to pass here in Carolina defensively in the middle.
All right, I think the message here, optimism into the next season, regroup, we do, and do all the work off season. All right, that's going to do it for us here, at least for 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC+. We'll be right back. At 9:44, bringing you a live picture right now, courtesy of the U.S. Geological Survey. This is Hawaii, Kilauea volcano, lava overflowing once again. This is from the north vent that happened overnight, and we are learning that it has continued pulses of the flow from the south vent as well. So we see this every once a month at least. It keeps
Feels
on.
like it.
Yeah, it feels like it. I know. I was reading one camera was replaced by another.
Okay.
Because the view that we had before this is kind of a new posted camera.
Okay.
Was destroyed.
Yeah.
Literally.
Huh.
From the lava.
Interesting.
From the lava. So a replacement camera now for you. Of Kilauea. Isn't that cool?
It is cool. I would say like maybe
is
an
nice to
hour
watch
ago, maybe
from
like
very-
maybe 2 hours ago, like when I was getting in, it was really flowing.
Yeah.
And so it has quite. I mean, you still see like the lava in the background. It's cool, but before it was very much flowing
Just-
down. It was very very orange in the shot. But, you know. So see, there you go. It's starting up. See.
It heard you? Oh,
It
wow.
heard me.
Look at that.
It said, "Oh, you want drama?
Mother
I'll
Nature.
bring the drama."
Mother Nature at its best. All right, let me
It is
just-
mesmerizing.
It is. As we watch that, the temperature there, thousands of degrees.
I think I read it was like the 40th episode of
Okay.
this, which seems right. Like I feel like we gotta get, like you said, we see this probably once a month,
Right?
At this point.
I mean, we know that, people are safe because
Yeah,
this
this
has
is-
been such an active.
This is its own state park. There's no
It's-
threat to the public.
exactly.
This is kind of like the huge.
Right, unfortunately. So it is the Hawaii Volcanoes National Park.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to find, some of these fun facts here. An area that's been closed to the public since 2007.
Yeah.
Really underscoring the extreme dangers of this area. But a cool picture. I'm just imagining who had to
Say no.
Put up the say no to moving.
Say no to say, hey, we're not gonna let people come here.
Oh, right. Yeah. You can no longer walk on
Right.
on the volcano. No, who had to replace the camera?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's miles and miles away.
You know, that's an excellent question because a brave soul.
Yeah. Bob, you and
USGS, if you're listening, we would love to know. Who's in charge of the camera?
Yeah. Bob and Laura will go up there and
Maybe it's
put a new
drone,
camera
maybe
up.
put it by a drone. Who knows?
I
at
don't
this
know,
point?
helicopter,
Yeah.
remote, but beautiful pictures being brought to us from the U.S. Geological Survey. Thank you so much. Always fun because we're watching it from afar. To watch it,
Yeah,
indeed.
they brought the drama. It brought the drama back. I said, where's the drama? And
It's
brought
right
the
here.
drama.
Said Carlene, we hear you. the volcano gods giving us a beautiful picture
Gorgeous.
this morning. This is one of those screensaver
Yeah.
type of
This is very much like
pictures.
a Windows screensaver. Yeah.
This is what we feel like on a Monday morning
For
sometimes.
real.
Just a slow, hot burn flowing down the mountain, trying to get where we're going.
Yeah.
All right. We feel you.
I feel you.
We feel you, Kilauea. All right. Inhale, exhale. At 9:47, the president says that tensions are rising between the U.S. and Iran, especially with Iran threatening to say that, U.S. military bases as well as Israeli military bases could be legitimate targets if the U.S. Does interfere as tensions are again sharply rising with Iran. Alice Barr with NBC News in Washington has the latest.
Amid a deadly crackdown against anti-government protesters in Iran that human rights groups say has killed more than 500 people, President Trump overnight confirming he's weighing options for potential U.S. intervention and saying that Iran called to negotiate.
We may meet with them. I mean, a meeting is being set up, but we may have to act because of what's happening before the meeting.
3 U.S. officials tell NBC News preliminary plans the president has been presented with range from potential strikes to other non-military action. Notably, the Pentagon has not yet moved major assets to the region to support possible military action. Iran is now warning that U.S. and Israeli military bases in the region could be considered legitimate targets if the U.S. launches a strike, and adding their response may not be limited to reacting after an attack.
If they do that, we will hit them at levels that they've never been hit before. They won't even believe it. I have options that are so strong.
Some Republican lawmakers urging President Trump to act,
embolden the protesters and scare the hell out of the regime,
while others warn of the risks of potential military action.
Sometimes it has the opposite effect. So when you bomb a country, then people tend to rally around their own flag.
The protests in Iran, initially touched off by an economic crisis, have evolved into one of the biggest challenges the regime has ever faced. Over the weekend, demonstrators in Los Angeles marching in solidarity were struck by a U-Haul truck. The FBI is now investigating. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
The president also busy, if you missed it on Friday, had an executive meeting with on oil. This is an oil executive meeting. We're going to play this for you, at least start it, as we are coming up on 10 o'clock. We do know there are several live feeds scheduled for the 10 o'clock hour. But here's President Trump now from Friday's executive oil meeting on WCNC+.
Our country is doing very well. You saw the numbers that got released today, yesterday. Deficits cut way, way, way back at levels that nobody's ever seen before, setting records. And the numbers coming into our country are unprecedented, and we're doing really well. We had a situation 3 days ago with Venezuela, and we're getting along extremely well with the people of Venezuela, both the people and the people that are running Venezuela. I just want to thank our military. What they've done is incredible. That was considered unprecedented, to go into a military fort with thousands of soldiers and others, and to come in with 152 planes going every which way, and at very rapid speeds, and helicopters, and to come out with no deaths and the loss of no equipment. It was pretty amazing. Nobody's seen anything like it. I was called by the leaders of numerous countries. I won't go into which ones, but the biggest and the strongest, and they said that was very impressive. They're all impressed. But today I'm delighted to welcome almost 24 of the biggest and most respected oil and gas executives in the world to the White House. It's an honor to be with them. We have many others that were not able to get in. I said if we had a ballroom, we'd have over 1,000 people. Everybody wanted. I never knew your industry was that big. I never knew you had that many people in your industry. But here we are. And if you, in fact, if you look, come to think of it, well, I got to look at this myself. Wow. What a view. This is the door to the ballroom. What a job. Unusual time to look, but I figure we might as well do it. If the fake news would like to go back and take a look, you can, but you'll see a very big foundation that's moving. We're ahead of schedule in the ballroom and under budget. It's going to be, I don't think there'll be anything like it in the world, actually. I think it's going to be the best. We won from, this is, as you know, our biggest room, which would seat 100 for dinner, maybe, if you're lucky, if you're nice and tight. And the ballroom will seat many, and it'll also take care of the inauguration with bulletproof glass, drone-proof ceilings, and everything else, unfortunately, that today you need. So we're going to discuss how these great American companies can help rapidly rebuild Venezuela's dilapidated oil industry and bring millions of barrels of oil production to benefit the United States, the people of Venezuela, and the entire world. And yesterday, the number is 30 million barrels I can't even, is that a correct number? 30 million barrels. You hear that, Peter? Of oil was given to us by Venezuela. That's a lot of oil. It's about $4 billion worth, and it's on its way to the United States right now. And we want to thank Venezuela for that. And we're working very well with them, obviously, or they wouldn't have been so generous. But they respect us again. They didn't respect us at all before. So that's money that goes to the United States. Some will go to Venezuela. And some will go to the oil companies, but not that, because that's already been extracted. So you're not getting any of that, but when you start extracting, you'll get. But it's tremendous reserves, among the biggest in the world. Some people say it is the biggest in the world. And we're going to be working with Venezuela. We're going to be making the decision as to which oil companies are going to go in, that we're going to allow to go in. We're going to cut a deal with the companies. We'll probably do that today or very shortly thereafter with Chris and Doug. And we're dealing with the country, so we're empowered to make that deal. And you have total safety, total security. One of the reasons you couldn't go in is you had no guarantees, you had no security, but now you have total security. It's a whole different Venezuela, and Venezuela is going to be very successful. And the people of the United States are going to be big beneficiaries because we're going to be extracting, numbers of, in terms of oil, like few people have ever seen, actually. So you're dealing with us directly. You're not dealing with Venezuela at all. We don't want you to deal with Venezuela. Let me thank Vice President J.D. Vance, who's doing a fantastic job. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, likewise a fantastic job. I have good people. I like them better than my first group. But we had despite that, we had a great first term. We had some great people there too, by the way. But we had a great first term. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country in the first term, but this is blowing it away. And you haven't seen anything yet. Everyone's been shocked by the numbers, 5.4% GDP. And that's despite the fact that we were badly hurt by the Democrat shutdown, of which they'd like to see if they could shut it down again. Secretary of the Interior Doug Burgum was fantastic. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright, recommended by Doug as being the greatest oil man anywhere in the world, because I wanted Doug for that job, energy, and Doug said, no, sir, there's a man named Chris Wright. I said, who the hell is Chris Wright? He said he's the most talented oil man anywhere in the world. I doubt you can get him, because typically oil men make a lot of money, and women. They make a lot of money, but Chris came. You took one of the greatest salary cuts probably in history, Chris, right? But he's a fantastic person, loves our country, and many other important members of this team. And I want to thank them for their efforts. As you know, last week the United States Armed Forces performed one of the most spectacular military operations in American history, apprehending the outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro for his crimes against the United States, crimes for which he has now been indicted and is in federal court awaiting trial. And he killed many people, millions of people, actually, and allowed jails, prisons, mental institutions, insane asylums, drug dealers, drug addicts to pour into our country totally unchecked because of Sleepy Joe Biden's policy of open borders, the stupidest thing I've ever seen. We're getting them all out. The departure of Maduro makes it possible an incredible future for both nations, Venezuela and the United States, in which we will more closely integrate the economies of two major energy powers in the Western Hemisphere. Energy coming out of Venezuela was very small. One of the things the United States.
All right, you've been watching previously recorded meeting with the president and some oil executives from Friday afternoon. We'll get back to more of that, as well as an annual report for human trafficking in South Carolina. It does appear that folks are gathering, and they're going to hold a press conference here at top of the hour. So let's go ahead and take a break. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+. 10 o'clock here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. I want to get you out live now to Columbia, South Carolina, where the Attorney General Alan Wilson is just starting a press conference on human trafficking, their annual report talking about 2025's efforts. Let's listen in on Live Impact News.
The people represented behind me here today that make this report possible. Full disclaimer, this is, I think, roughly 114 pages long, and we do have a 2-page executive summary, but for those of you who out and really crawl into this issue and really dive deep into the statistics, then we can provide this to you. You can download this at our human trafficking website in a PDF. And for those of you who just want the movie trailer as opposed to the movie, you can download an executive summary of everything. I would like to begin, first off, by introducing the newly promoted director of the statewide Human Trafficking Task Force, Monique Garvin. If you have been active in our task force, you may have known Monique as our first deputy director of the task force, hand in glove with Catherine Moorhead, who turned the chapter, was with us for many years, had other opportunities to return home closer to her family in the Northeast. But Monique has been right there in the trenches the entire time. And this year, I was proud to be able to promote her to director of the State Human Trafficking Task Force. Monique is an amazing person. She has an outstanding history of service to children and families in South Carolina, both in the community as the deputy director of the task force, but beyond that. She has a dual master's in social work and public administration from the University of South Carolina, go Cox, and I am proud to formally introduce her to you today as our new director. Along with Monique's promotion to director, we have been able to do a number of things this year. You're going to hear about these a little bit later. We've completed the first round of certification evaluations for state human trafficking service providers. We've hosted the annual Human Trafficking Carolinas Conference in partnership with North Carolina, and we've updated the laws on the books to include morphed images and criminalizing revenge porn, which actually do play a role in the war on human trafficking. We could not have done this without the support of the General Assembly. The recurring funding we received several years ago has allowed us to hire additional staff. It has allowed us to better coordinate with regional task forces in each of the major areas of the state. It's allowed us to pay for resources to hire an outside certification program coordinator, provide the best possible multi-state conference, and has allowed us to partner with ETV to continue to improve and expand our prevention education and outreach efforts in the classrooms around the state as well as every community in the state. Human trafficking awareness in South Carolina is finally bringing this crime into daily conversations. Beforehand, it was something that you saw in Hollywood movies and something that people didn't think to talk about. But we have shoved it into daily conversations, and we are shedding light on how we all can work together to protect, prevent, prosecute both sex and labor trafficking in South Carolina. We are now able to take everything the task force has been doing and raise it to the next level. In 2025, we were able to compare South Carolina specific numbers from the same data collected last year as we looked at numbers from state and federal courts, SLED, DSS, and DJJ. And you will hear more about those numbers momentarily. Our state task force data and research analyst, and I'll recognize him later, but Chris Brunswick is taking the next steps to determine the needs of human trafficking to inform our direction, better understanding human trafficking around our state. You cannot adequately manage a problem until you adequately measure the problem, and that is why that is so important. It allows us to put lead on the target at hand. Labor and sex trafficking continue to present themselves in varying ways. The most consistent trend we saw in 2024 is the prevalence of minor victims. Given the complexities of human trafficking cases, the South Carolina Human Trafficking Task Force uses a multidisciplinary approach to strategically utilize the knowledge and strengths of all of its members. The task force is currently composed of 11 mandated member agencies around in state government, 2 appointed non-governmental organizations, as well as several federal organizations like the Department, the United States Attorney's Office, as well as our other federal law enforcement agencies who elect to partner with us, and they are very active. We also have 12 subcommittees under our state human trafficking. as well as 11 regional task force that work in the regions of state, but also in coordination with our state task force. The regional task forces are our boots on the ground in South Carolina's fight against human trafficking. In 2025, the Survivor Advisory Committee redesigned our mandated awareness posters. This new design was printed and distributed to the regional task forces around the state who made the effort to get them distributed in every community. Our regional task forces, in conjunction with our interfaith subcommittee, host and participate in a trunk or treat events in October to spread age and event appropriate awareness items and engage with our communities around South Carolina. I want to thank the sheriffs and the solicitors and other agencies for allowing their employees to commit time to the anti-human trafficking efforts in our state. Also, I think we have at least one solicitor here, David Stumbo. Thank you, Solicitor Stumbo. I know others would be here, but they were otherwise engaged, but I do want to thank Solicitor David Stumbo for standing up here. The people standing with me today are representatives of these groups from around the state. Thank you to all the members of the task force for your hard work and perseverance in 2025. Victims and survivors, defined by any specific characteristic, and represent numerous cultural backgrounds. Therefore, the task force continues to promote the development and implementation of trauma-informed, culturally sensitive, and comprehensive victim-centered approaches to human trafficking. I'd like to invite the director of the task force, Monique Garvin, with a special presentation on behalf of the governor's office.
The governor's office could not be with us here today. However, they sent a proclamation to honor Human Trafficking Awareness Month, and it reads, whereas human trafficking is a crime against humanity that negatively impacts millions of lives worldwide, including throughout the United States and South Carolina, and whereas victims of human trafficking, including children and adults, face unimaginable hardships, including the loss of their dignity, freedom, and basic rights through commercial sexual exploitation, debt bonding, involuntary servitude, forced labor, and other forms of exploitation. And whereas the state of South Carolina is committed to advocating for the well-being of all its residents by protecting the vulnerable through prevention education and awareness, as well as continued efforts to support victims, investigate cases, and prosecute traffickers. And whereas South Carolina is committed to partnering with regional and national allies to strengthen our efforts toward the elimination of human trafficking and its traumatic impact on our communities. And whereas the statewide Human Trafficking Task Force works to support the efforts of South Carolina stakeholders, including regional task forces and community advocates, and guide the strategic approach to combat this crime. And whereas this year's observance of Human Trafficking Awareness Month affirms South Carolina's commitment to individual freedoms and the elimination of human trafficking in all its oppressive forms. Now, therefore, I, Henry Dargan McMaster, Governor of the great state of South Carolina, do hereby proclaim January as 2026 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month throughout the state, and encourage all South Carolinians to recognize the vital role each person plays in the prevention of human trafficking, as well as the power of our collective efforts in ending this crime in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Monique, and thanks to the governor for their support and his office's support of this task force. The state task force received substantial funding from the General Assembly in 2022. Because of that funding, it provided us much needed staff. And in 2025, we were better able to realize the lack of appropriate housing and resources around the state for victims and survivors in South Carolina. Every community in South Carolina needs an expansion of both community and residential programming for victims and survivors. It is the legislatively mandated role of this task force to certify programs that do provide services for minor adult victims So you just can't have fly-by-the-night of organizations throwing up a halfway house or an organization saying that they provide services. They must now be certified by this task force. A list of the certified programs must be made available to the public and the court so they can make appropriate recommendations to services aligned with best practices. In 2025, the state task force launched South Carolina's Safe House certification program in partnership with the Safe House Project. This legislatively mandated initiative established a comprehensive, standard-driven approach to evaluating residential and non-residential anti-human trafficking organizations. South Carolina is the first state in the nation to require Safe House certification as part of the statewide service delivery framework. We're leading from the front of everyone up here that's so. Every organization must have each program they run individually evaluated. The programs include both adult and minor residential and community services.
All right, folks, you've been watching live a press conference out of South Carolina on human trafficking. The sound or feed pops in every once in a while. That is on not our end. So just pardon the little burps and hiccups here.
Present you with your certification. First, Doors to Freedom, Dorchester County, Minor Residential Program, Gold Certification Badge, Transitional Age Youth Program, Certification Badge. Do we have? Let me go ahead and give you congratulations. Absolutely. We're proud of you. Jasmine Road, Greenville County, Adult Long-Term Program, Bronze Certification. You're right there. Congratulations. White House for Life, Richland County, Community-Based Program, Gold Badge. Congratulations. The Formation Project, Charleston County, they have a community-based program which was receiving a gold certification badge, and a newly created transitional program which is emerging, and we just wanted to recognize them for that program. But they are a gold certification badge for the community-based program. Congratulations. And this is a point of personal privilege. Brooke is my former law clerk. So I like to see my...
Everything I know.
Everything you know, right? Yeah, no, we know that's not true.
Twice wherever she is.
Yes, yes. I'm so proud of seeing people who used to work in our office do great things for our state. So I would like to now transition to the Advocate of the Year Award. This is a really, really important award. Our next recognition is for someone who has used his voice in the state legislature to transform personal tragedy into dedicated advocacy. His legislative leadership in changing and updating state and federal laws protects victims from online exploitation and sextortion, both of which are increasingly linked to human trafficking here in South Carolina. At this time, I would ask Representative Brandon Guffey to join me at the podium, and I already had him here, but Brandon, step up. The task force recognizes all of the contributions you have made to consistently support the victims and survivors of this state by introducing and passing legislation to strengthen our laws and our rights for victims, specifically Gavin's Law. Your steadfast support in acknowledging today as we recognize you with the 2025 Advocate of the Year Award. This award is given at this press conference to unique individuals who contribute to the anti-human trafficking efforts in South Carolina. So in a clear glass, I've gone to these now. I'm going to read what this says. South Carolina Human Trafficking Task Force 2025 Advocate of the Year Award is presented to Representative Brandon Guffey for demonstrating profound commitment to human trafficking advocacy, representative through steadfast legislative impact. I want to present with great appreciation on behalf of the task force, all our adjacent membership, people of South Carolina, thank you for what you do as a leader in South Carolina. We appreciate you, we love you, and this is just a small token of our appreciation. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do you want to finish, or do you? I'm just trying not to step on his tail. But go ahead. And I won't take long. I did not have anything prepared, but I often say, God blessed me with is a big mouth. And since I lost my son, all I can do is run it. But the people standing behind me, this task force, they're the ones doing the work. The only thing I can do is advocate. But the further that I've went down this, and as much as I remember the first year coming in office, I had a friend come in and say, hey, we've really got to address human trafficking. And I was like, no. I'm focusing on sextortion. It's not my fight. But as I started getting through, and it didn't matter how far I tried to avoid it, the two are linked. Linked with exploitation, the exploitation linked with human trafficking. As we've gotten involved, we're even starting to see sextortion and human trafficking combined with girls being trafficked for videos on platforms just to raise money. So thank all of you, really, for your support. I'm honored to have this award. I never feel worthy, but I will continue running my big mouth till the day that I die, being an advocate. So thank you. Brandon, are you in your third term or fourth? Second term. See, that's what I'm saying is he hasn't even been here that long, and it feels like he's been here forever. And so thank you. We want you to keep running your mouth. So thank you, because your words lead to action. We appreciate it. So congratulations to you, and thank you again. In 2023, we launched in partnership with South Carolina ETV Traffic Proof SC, Traffic Proof SC, the free age-appropriate educational videos and curricula catered to middle and high school students. This initiative is moving into the next phase with a statewide human trafficking education prevention curriculum designed for community-based youth. The next phase will also include a video highlighting the importance of educating parents and other adults on the realities of human trafficking. This is what...
You've been watching live a press conference out of Columbia, South Carolina on human trafficking, wrapping up their annual report of 2025. Special guests when we come back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We're talking the Olympics. 10:20 on the dot here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, and we are less than 30 days away from the opening ceremonies of the 2026 Winter Olympic Games in Milan Cortina, which air right here on WCNC Charlotte. Joining us this morning live now from Munich is two-time U.S. national champion and Team USA biathlete, I should say, Chloe Levins, gearing up for the games for an inside look. Chloe, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, so biathlon is one of the most, I would say, mentally demanding Olympic events, wouldn't you say? Why get involved with this? And talk to us for people who don't know what the biathlon is.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're correct. Biathlon is demanding mentally and physically. It combines Nordic skiing and precision rifle shooting. And so basically we are as fit as marathon runners and as precise as snipers. And we have to put these two juxtaposing skill sets together in a perfect puzzle piece to make a good race in biathlon. And I'm really excited to be the alternate this year for Team USA in Milano Cortina, and can't wait to step in if they need me, and I'll be at the ready, just a phone call away.
Tell us how you got involved. What attracted you to this event?
Yeah, I love biathlon because of the cerebral aspect of the sport. I actually grew up playing golf, and I saw the similarities immediately between the two sports. I think all precision sports have this massive cerebral aspect, and I leaned into it immediately, and I love the mind and body connection that I've gained through competing in biathlon. And I think that I'm just chasing that perfect race where you hit all your targets and you ski your heart out. And yeah, hopefully it happens for me this season, but we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, that is amazing. So impressive. A golfer as well. All right, you just said it. You're an alternate now for Team USA. Tell us where you are in your training and what your day-to-day looks like.
Yeah, I'm here in Munich. I've been training and competing on the road already for 2 months. I'm 20 competitions into my season, so right in the heart of it. And obviously this year culminates at Milano Cortina. And yeah, so we will be preparing for the Olympics over the next couple weeks, sharpening every tool we have in our toolbox and making sure that Team USA is ready to win biathlon its first Olympic medal.
Competing at this elite level for over a decade now, Chloe, as you think about your athletic career, how do you balance staying focused and your, physical performance as well to keep them at that peak level for this kind of competition?
Yeah, something that really surprised me actually in the last few years was it wasn't more discipline or more focus actually that brought me to the next level in biathlon. It was more balance. And I've achieved that balance in my life by maintaining part-time jobs alongside my career in biathlon and also continuing my education through guild programs and the USOPC partnership that we have. I'm able to do that tuition-free as a Team USA athlete, which has been amazing, and it's allowed me to build my professional resume in a way that allows me to compete with more reassurance and having a plan in the back pocket that I can fall back on has really freed me up to be my best in competition.
Wow. So you're also working and studying. How is it that you can manage to juggle everything?
It's difficult, but I really enjoy having all these different things going on at once. I think that it's a misconception that all professional athletes have 7-figure sponsorship deals, and the reality is that we have to prepare for the future, and I embrace that challenge head on. And when I'm ready to get off the boat and start swimming to shore in retirement, I'm just grateful to Guild that's brought me a little bit closer. And I feel like it elevates my biathlon. So it's the best of all worlds, and I couldn't be more grateful to be in this era of Team USA athletes.
Yeah, and talk to us about the crucial thinking that, it is important to prepare for a future post-competition or post-Olympic career rather than waiting till this part of your life is done and then moving on to the next.
It's a massive pivot point for a lot of athletes. You have to end a career in your late 20s or early 30s and then start a new one. And so I think the more you can get ahead and also manage your competition at the highest level, the better. And I think that Guild allows us to do that because we can take these courses remotely. And for someone who travels for 5 to 6 months out of the year, that's an absolute game changer. And so I'm really grateful, and it doesn't take away from my sport or my performance at all. I was taking a legal essentials course during World Championships in Switzerland last year and had my best championship event to date. And I don't think that's a coincidence.
Wow, good for you. You are laser focused, girl. And it looks like you've seen some beautiful parts of the world. What can we expect from you and Team USA in Milan Cortina?
Yeah, I have been really fortunate to travel the world for this sport, and Milano Cortina is absolutely gorgeous. Everyone tuning in is going to love it. Biathlon has yet to win its first Olympic medal, and this year the team is in the best position to do so. We have 11 competitions for men and women combined over the course of the 2 weeks of the games, and yeah, you should be watching because things are going to get interesting, and you're just bound to be surprised.
All right. Can't wait. Chloe Levins, definitely representing Team USA and just in general, a great American doing it all. It can be done, just like Chloe. Appreciate your time this morning. We will be watching, and not good luck, but congratulations to have this in your career. That's awesome. And we'll be back here on Live Impact News on WCNC+. Hi, everyone. 10:28 is the time right now. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC+. Want to take you out to South Texas. This is the trial for the Uvalde School police officer Adrian Gonzalez. The trial is underway at Nueces County, Corpus Christi, Texas. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News on WCNC+.
That we saw earlier.
And to the left of the photograph, which classrooms are those?
111 and 112.
And 280, does that start to show the marker numbers and start to be able to see the casings?
That's correct.
9 through about 22, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you have a yellow tint there. Why do you have a yellow tint as opposed to the blue tints?
If I recall correctly, I'm going to say that was marking probably some kind of print or something, impression left in the blood.
So it was not a casing for sure?
No, sir.
State's Exhibit 281.
It's item number 9, showing a fired cartridge case.
282.
Item number 10, again, a fired cartridge case.
Exhibit 283.
Number 11 will be it's a 21-round magazine with 20 unfired cartridges.
And do you recognize the nature of those cartridges and magazine?
Was believed to be law enforcement.
And why do you believe it to be law enforcement?
The type of ammo, I believe that was in it, if I remember correctly.
It's handgun ammo as opposed to rifle ammo, is that correct?
Correct.
Exhibit 284.
That's a fired cartridge case from a handgun.
From a handgun?
From a handgun.
As opposed to a rifle?
Correct.
Thank you. And Exhibit 285?
Just kind of a zoomed out overshot view between, in front of 111 and 112 of the same temp markers that we've been going through.
And on the far left, does it show an additional temp marker?
Item number 14.
Thank you. Exhibit 286.
It's item number 13, fired cartridge case.
And State's Exhibit 287.
It's a close-up view of item 13, a fired cartridge case from a rifle.
State's Exhibit 288.
Item number 14, fired cartridge case.
And Exhibit 289.
It's a closer, a zoomed-in shot of item 14, a fired cartridge case.
Moving next to Exhibit 290.
Again, just a zoomed out overall photograph of that hallway in front of 111, 112, showing our tent markers.
291.
Item number 15, showing 3 fired cartridge casings.
So you may put one marker down for more than one casing?
Correct.
Exhibit 292.
Item number 16, identifying the 3 fired cartridge casings.
Okay. And we see 2 fairly easily. Where's the third?
This will be 1, 2, and the third's all fired on the left.
Thank you. Exhibit 293.
Item number 17, fired cartridge casing.
And 294.
Item number 18, again, a fired cartridge casing.
295.
Just an overshot view in front of 111, 112 of the temp markers and of the cartridge casings that we identified.
296.
Item number 19, fired cartridge casing.
297.
Item number 20, it's a fired cartridge casing.
298.
Item number 21, fired cartridge casing.
You know, these all belong to a rifle?
That's correct, yes.
299.
Item number 22, identifying the 2 fired cartridge casings.
Rifle casing?
Correct.
Moving now down the hallway, State's Exhibit 300, would you describe what we see here?
Be the focusing on basically the tent markers that we set out to identify additional cartridge casings that we had located.
And once again, this is when you located it the day after this event. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Stakes Exhibit 301.
Item number 23, fired rifle cartridge casing.
Exhibit 302.
Again, the same tent marker, number 23, just a closer up, zoomed in photo of the fired cartridge casing.
Exhibit 303.
Item number 24, a fired cartridge casing from a rifle.
Exhibit 304.
Item number 25, cartridge casing, fired cartridge casing from a rifle.
Exhibit 305.
That's just a zoomed in photo of item number 25 of that fired cartridge casing.
Exhibit 306.
Item number 26, and then of course you can see 27, 28 in the background, and then the medical intervention, signs of intervention there.
And 307.
A zoomed in photo of item number 26, a fired rifle cartridge casing.
Exhibit 308.
Item number 27, 2 fired rifle cartridge cases.
Exhibit 309.
Item number 28, fired rifle cartridge casing.
And 310.
Showing item 29, 31, 32, and 33.
And are those further toward the south door?
That's correct.
Stakes Exhibit 311.
A zoomed in photo of item 29, a fired rifle cartridge casing.
Exhibit 312.
Item number 30, a zoomed in photograph of a fired rifle cartridge casing.
And Exhibit 313, does that show the general location of tent marker 32?
Yes, sir.
And Exhibit 314.
Item 31, showing the fired rifle cartridge casing.
Exhibit 315.
Item number 32, again, a fired rifle cartridge casing.
And Exhibit 33.
Item number 33, fired rifle cartridge casing.
And are you able to distinguish casing from one manufacturer from another manufacturer?
Yes.
And in this case, how many different types of rifle cartridge casings did you recover from the hallway?
We recovered an LC-22 5.56, and then there was a 9mm Luger Hornady, a Remington 223, and a Remington 223.
So how many Remington shell casings did you recover?
I believe, if I recall correctly, 2. 3. I'm seeing 3 right offhand here.
Okay. May I approach? That was a lot of casings that we went through,
Yes.
correct? Yes. When y'all packaged up the casings, did you put them in different packages based on the brand of the casing?
We did.
May I approach?
Yes, sir.
All right, with that pause there at the Uvalde officer trial in South Texas, let's go ahead and take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10:41, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. Passions rising there in New York City. The nurses are striking. This is a press conference happening right now. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News.
Las enfermeras tienen que salir afuera a luchar por poco dinero, por pesos. Eso tiene que cambiar. Necesitamos un sistema a donde las enfermeras se pueden cuidar igual como ellos cuidan a nosotros. Thank you. And your Manhattan Borough President, Brad Hoylman-Siegel.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Brad Hoylman-Siegel, Manhattan Borough President. Thank you. Thank you, Borough President Reynoso. You know, let's just be clear. If a hospital executive was making $1 million, that would be a lot of money. $5 million would be suspect. $10 million is outrageous. $26 million, that is unconscionable. That is unconscionable, and that is a reflection of the upside-down system here at Columbia Presbyterian and elsewhere. We need to make clear that the people who are doing the work on the ground, the nurses who are saving the lives every day of the week, the nurses who are the glue of our healthcare system, they need to be paid fairly. Am I right about that? So I stand with NYSNA. I stand with the nurses here at Columbia Press and across the 5 boroughs to say, come back to the table. Nurses deserve fair pay. Nurses deserve, of all people, adequate health care. Yes. Every nurse should have the gold standard of health care because that's what they're providing their patients. So let's at the table. Let's make sure that nurses get the support they deserve. Let's win this fight. Thank you very much.
When we fight, when we fight, we win. Our next speaker is one of our PERSB Executive Committee member, Tanya Fisher Morales. Come on, Tanya! Let's give it up for Tanya.
I'm nervous. Good morning, my name is Tanya Fisher Morales, and I'm an emergency department holding nurse here at New York Presbyterian Hospital. We are on strike today because our employer won't negotiate a fair contract to keep patients and nurses safe.
We love you, Tanya. We love you, Tanya. You got this.
A lot of nurses at my hospital have experienced workplace violence, including me. I've been grabbed and scratched by patients. Just last week, one of my coworkers was punched in the chest by a patient and is now out on medical leave. The week before that,
All right, they were trying to work out some of the feedback issues there at a live press conference. New York nurses are on trial. Let's go back to the Uvalde police officer trial where at least the sound is cleaner. Let's go ahead and listen in on Live Impact News.
That's correct, yes.
And that's where, that's what you're here to testify about today, your work in this crime scene.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And during all those years, you do you call it in-service? Some police departments call it in-service or continuation training?
Yes, sir, we do.
Because you know, in order, you probably carry a weapon today, right?
Yes, sir, I am.
And you're carrying a sidearm?
That's correct, yes, sir.
A pistol?
Yes, sir.
Right? And you have to qualify to shoot that, is that correct?
We do, yes, sir.
Several times a year?
Yes, sir.
And you have to do for tactical training?
That's correct.
In order to keep your status as a peace officer, right?
Correct.
Primarily, and also to keep your status as a ranger.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Right. Okay, and so let's talk about, I want to talk to you about your role in this incident.
Yes, sir.
So you said you're based out of Wilson County.
I was at the time of this, yes.
And you're not now, I take it?
No, sir, I'm in Atascosa County now.
No, not a million miles away, but...
It's a little bit, not much.
Same district attorney, but different county, right?
That's correct.
So you made your way on May 24, 22 to the scene, I think you said late afternoon, early evening, 5:30 p.m.
That's correct, yes, sir.
And you had a briefing. right?
Correct.
And was it Lieutenant Barina?
That's correct.
So we've already met, the jury's already met Lieutenant Barina, but Lieutenant Barina, he was there before you, he made the scene before you,
Yes,
and gave you a briefing on the situation.
that's correct.
So at that point, and I think I've seen some of the reports of this incident. I mean, it's discussed in several ways, but you're there to investigate or help to investigate what ended up being an officer-involved shooting.
Typically, but it was called in and given to us as an active shooter, yes, sir.
That's how it came in, right?
Correct.
That's where I was going. So in actual fact, what you were investigating was a mass murder of children, right?
Let's go ahead and take our last break of the hour. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Here now at 10:49 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. It looks like that sound feedback situation in New York City has been cleared up. Let's go ahead and listen in on this New York nurses strike that's underway on Live Impact News.
A New Yorker, when they're having a bad day, and they're having a terrible day, and they go to a hospital, is a nurse that gives them care. And on the worst days of our lives, when we go to hospitals, it is nurses that give us hope. So I say to the people who are making decisions, going down the wrong path, let's get back to the table, negotiate a contract, let's give these nurses, these heroes, what they deserve. Sisters and brothers, when workers' rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. When patients' rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. When nurses' rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up, fight back. Brothers and sisters, the 1 million members of the New York City labor movement stand with you today, tomorrow, and as long as it takes for you to get the contract that you deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, Brendan. One more thing.
And my apologies and my enthusiasm, I forgot to thank all of the other unions that are here. So I would like to shout out SEIU 32BJ. We have Secretary Treasurer John Santos is with us. RWDSU 338. We have the Communication Workers of America, District 1. We have SEIU 1199. Teamsters, Local 707. Local 814. 804 of the Teamsters. We have PSC CUNY. The HTC Hotel and Trades Council. And RWDSU 338. Did I say that? There we go. Thank you all. And the steel workers.
Everybody else, all our union siblings, and Brendan forgot to call your name. Thank you for being here, because our fight is your fight. Okay, when you take on one of us, all of us. Okay, it is my pleasure to introduce New York Council member Carmen de la Rosa.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. In addition to being the labor chair in the city council, at least for the next few days, it has been an honor and a pleasure to represent this district in the New York City Council. We're standing on Fort Washington Avenue in the middle of Washington Heights, which is a working class community. And so, for many people who visit us from out of town, this is a premier hospital where they come to get their needs met. If you cross Broadway, you will find a community that is a working class community for whom this hospital is a local hospital. It is our front line of defense. Just 2 weeks ago, I was at the Children's Hospital with my own daughter. And so my message to management here is that when you turn your backs on the nurses who are keeping this hospital running every single day and every single day are helping our communities, you are turning your back on the broader community which you purport to serve as an institution. We are calling out Presby for their lack of willingness to come to the table and negotiate a contract that delivers dignity to our nurses. You know, we've all heard the stories of how we banged our pots for the nurses during the pandemic. But even before the pandemic, if you were unfortunate enough to find yourself on the other side of a hospital bed, it was the nurses who were uplifting us in every moment. I remember childbirth. It was the nurses who did the work. And so, when we talk about solutions for our community, when we talk about the social determinants of health, the struggle for working class is not separate from the struggle of the nurses here today. So I'm proud to stand in solidarity. I'm always present when NYSNA calls, and we will continue to stand with you until Presby delivers the contract that you all deserve. Thank you so much. En Spanish, okay. En español, soy la concejal Carmen de la Rosa, represento este gran distrito. Para mí es un honor estar aquí, porque represento a la comunidad en donde esta institución vive y trabaja. Y para nosotros, tener un contrato digno para nuestras enfermeras significa levantar familias, significa levantar a nuestra comunidad. Cuando nosotros nos vemos en la necesidad de venir al hospital, este es nuestro hospital y ellas y ellos son los enfermeros que cuidan de nosotros. Ahora es el momento de que esta institución haga lo correcto, venga a la mesa y negocie un contrato digno para todas nuestras enfermeras. Gracias.
Gracias. I'd like to take a moment to thank New York City Assembly member Manny de los Santos, whose district we in, New York City Assembly member Al Taylor, whose district we also in. Also acknowledge a thank you support to New York State Senator Robert Jackson. We are in his district. We would like to thank New York City Council member Mercedes Narcisse, chair of the Council of Hospital Committee. We would like to acknowledge and say thank you to New York City Council member Lynn Schulman, chair of the Council of Health, and Chief of Staff Jonathan Butcher in attendance. We would like to say thank you to our Reverend Kirsten John Foy. Thank you for being here and always have our back. President and CEO of the Art of Justice. Thank you. Now I would like to...
All right, wrapping up that press conference in New York where nurses are on strike. Want to get you to some breaking news right now. We're looking at some aerial pictures out of Central Florida, hearing that Lake Minneola High School is currently on lockdown. All we're learning is that it is due to a bomb threat reported. So Lake County Sheriff's Office handling this. Deputies are on scene. They're canvassing the area. Investigations being conducted as well, according to standard protocol procedures, but that is the preliminary information we are learning right now, and some roads are closed into and out of the school. Again, Lake Minneola High School currently on lockdown regarding a bomb threat. We will continue to follow that story here on Live Impact News. We'll bring you the very latest coming up in the midday. I am back at 12:30. Nick Sturdivant is off today. For now, I bid you adieu. Charlotte Today is up next. Have a great one.